What's up, race fans? It's 7 o'clock. It's Thursday, and it's time for the Thursday Night Throttle. This is your look ahead to the weekend in Michiana Motorsports and your look around Michiana Motorsports as well. I'm Buju, live from South Bend, Indiana, sometimes a race car driver, also the host of the Bull Ring Chronicles, also the host of the Monday Night Rewind, now host of the Thursday Night Throttle. I almost said Thunder. Live on Top Row Racing Media, joined by the man in the top row himself, Louis Noakes. How are we doing today, Louis?
Super exhausted. If people buy a Kalamazoo shirt tomorrow that has a schedule on the back of it, the back of the t-shirt, and it's tie-dye, actually, quite frankly, there's a lot of colors that are your flair. I helped make those. So that's what I've been doing all day. I was up in Allegan, or it's Otsego, but they're kind of on the line there. But I was up there helping Matt, Elsie, and Christina Rant. So I spent a lot of time up there today, and certainly, keeping those communities, both they got hit. In fact, the F0 ended up, tornado F0, ended right behind the LC shop, basically. So a lot of down trees, a lot of spots where, they're doing a lot of storm cleanup up there. So I know for Kalamazoo, there are a lot of racers from the Plainwell, Otsego area. So certainly, thinking about them as we get ready to go Fast Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, we went from a rough winter into a wild spring. So
yeah,
glad racing season is here to maybe get everybody's minds off of it a little bit.
Yeah, it is time. I mean, the weather is supposed to be nice tomorrow, right? It's one of the nice days of the week. And I mean, the temperatures haven't been bad, but it's every day. We even had storms today, and then I know Saturday was looking a little suspicious, but I know Luke Combs is playing at Notre Dame, so obviously a lot of people are going to Notre Dame. But that also means since Notre Dame has a huge event, we get more weather than usual.
Yeah, you're right.
More updates, right? And so it looks like the weather has turned nice for Saturday. Nice meaning it's not going to rain at night. The temperature may not be nice, but last year's for the season opener night of Destruction, it was in the 30s, and they still had a packed house at New Paris. So, depending on how many people are Luke Combs fans and go to Notre Dame, I'm expecting a good crowd there. And then Sunday, I haven't looked that far enough yet. I just need to get through tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel you. But it looks good for tomorrow, though. That's our first big show that we'll be previewing tonight, the Intimidator 100 at Kalamazoo. Looks like we'll be good for the show tomorrow at Kalamazoo. And then, like you said, Saturday, maybe a little sketchier, but I think they'll be all right for the night of Destruction down there in New Paris for certain.
Yeah, and they've done it in the rain, too. It's when you talk thunder and lightning, that's when it gets crazy.
For sure. Well, do we want to go ahead and get into our previews, or?
Well, let's first.
Absolutely.
Throttle. So, Buju had sent a question earlier today, and I went, I'm currently making shirts, won't have time to change the question of the night, but certainly add in the comments, definitely check in. We definitely want to thank to ELH Detailing, who's the presenting sponsor of the Thursday Night Throttle, and of course, sponsoring Top Row Racing Media this year. But for our throttle response, and I said in the post, BYOB for this, should race tracks allow fans to bring in their own coolers? I know this is Salem Speedway, when they posted a few weeks ago about coolers, it turned into a whole big thing in the comment section. And Owasso yesterday just announced, because of Michigan law, it's a Michigan law thing. In fact, Indiana has a similar law, if I remember correctly, too, that, if a track is selling alcohol, fans can't bring in their own alcohol. I know at South Bend a lot, they announced that many times, we sell it here, so you can have it in the parking lot, but you can't bring it in to the gate. And they had to search bags and everything when people came in and coolers. But we thought, since it's a hot topic that seems to be presenting itself again, as tracks even to look at, cost for their food and drinks and everything, should racetracks allow fans to bring in their own cooler? So definitely, put your comments down there, and we will talk about it too. What we think. That's I see James Binkley checked in with Mayor in the house. So remember, we do want this to be a conversation too. We'll be discussing the Kalamazoo Speedway specifically in a little bit, and we'll be discussing New Paris. So put your comments in. We'll put them up here. We don't have a phone line for people to call in, but we'll do what we can to include, because it's a little different vibe than Monday Night Rewind. But other than that, if you want to jump right in, I see it's about 7:05, so we're actually a minute ahead of time. If you want to jump right in, we can talk about the weekend preview.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So again, put your comments in the comment section for the question of the night, and we'll be talking about it and what we each think. But again, the weekend preview now. Just so you know, these graphics were made last night. We know that throughout the night last night and today, some of these tracks may have changed their schedule for the weekend. So if you see a track, we'll try to make note of whether they're racing or not. So first for Friday, Kalamazoo at this point is racing. The weather looks nice for tomorrow. And kickoff is at, well, not kickoff, but first green flag is at 7:30. But don't forget, it is single car qualifying for the Outlaw late models at about 6:45 tomorrow. So at about 6:45 to about 7:10, they're going to be doing single car qualifying. Everyone else will be group qualifying, and of course, all the practice sessions. So gates do open at 2:30. If you want to come early and put things down, blankets or whatever, 2:30 the gates do open. And but single car qualifying only Outlaw late models, and in tradition, Kalamazoo is doing features only for the night. Usually opening night has always been features only, and I know that maybe that's another question for the future is, do heat races matter? Because they're when tracks take away heat races, that's another, you'd think you're committing murder. But anyways, we do know for Kankakee County, we did say that we would include them, but Buju let me know when I was driving home from Otsego that they did cancel. So the season opener under the new regime at Kankakee over in Illinois is canceled for tomorrow. So one track on this graphic is racing, and one track canceled. You said what about 6:30 tonight our time?
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, unfortunate for them, but it sounds like they are a pond right now. They use ducks in their graphic to illustrate they were rained out. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and that kind of brings up Crystal Motor Speedway too. So I know Crystal, with them being dirt as well, and that area of Michigan has just been annihilated with weather, and dams are breaching up there. Just a lot of different things going on. So I know they've been pooled with water, and sometimes it is a dirt track, and I understand when people say it's dirt, work it in. There's a point and a time where there's no working in. And this is one of those points and times that it doesn't matter what they do, the track is just not going to come back.
And it's also a point where the area is affected enough that maybe having a race night isn't an ideal situation either. Right. You don't know the infrastructure situation around right now. So
yeah,
Crystal pulling the plug this early is probably a sign that it was very necessary to cancel this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where, again, when we present these graphics each weekend, just know we're going based on what we know of as Wednesday night when I'm making all the graphics for the weekend. So, we already have 2 tracks on here who canceled. If I had a little bit more time today and I was home earlier, I probably would have been able to change it. But I literally walked into the door and started setting up the show. But we know over in Grundy County, Illinois, Morris, Illinois, they also have the Big 8 series this week, which is 5 p.m. Central Time. And it will, if you can't make it, it's on Track TV. So if you have a Track TV subscription, which I think is also Racing America, I think that's all the same group. That's in Grundy County. And then down in Indianapolis at the Speedrome, they have their 7th annual Marty Griffin Memorial. And so they have a huge night, and it's $5 for anyone who wants to get in. So that's a pretty cool deal that they have down there. I know, was it not last week, but the week before, when it was April 4th, they let everyone in for free. So they've had a couple deals to start the year. And then obviously one of the shows that we'll be talking about up here in just a few minutes will be the Night of Destruction at the New Paris Speedway. Again, weather colder, but it looks like all the storms will be out of the area by then.
For sure. Sunday. I forgot about Sunday. Go ahead, Louis.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Sunday, the only show that I found, at least in the local area, are the mini wedges. They're kicking off. They'll have all 4 classes there. I believe it's $10 to get in, if I remember from the graphic correctly. And so that starts at 1:30 p.m. Hot laps and everything will start around noon when people come in. And so they have their season opener, and it's right in the infield at the Kalamazoo Speedway. So for people who are walking around tomorrow, You may notice the track layout on the pavement. They did striping the other day. And so without the drift group there this year, the stripes will stay. That's one of the things that I know a lot of people, tracks are entertainment places, and they need to make, they need to make money on their facility. You only get so many race nights a year. And, so places bring in like drifting and concerts and other things. So drifting was one that came into Kalamazoo, but I know a lot of people didn't like that it ripped up all the striping, and they spent a lot of money on that striping. So this year without drifting, the stripes will be there. And I know they were doing that the other day. So that's on Sunday for the mini wedges. Other than that, I think that is it for our weekend preview there. So that gives us a lot of time to discuss the two shows, which I didn't know how much time we'd take to get through those. So we're ahead. People, just remember that we are ahead of schedule. And I see people are answering the comments for coolers. So again, since we're just a few minutes ahead, let's remind the question. Should racetracks allow fans to bring in their own coolers? And when we think about this, if there's a medical need, that's a little bit different. But this is in general. Should they allow that in? And tell us why. Why do you think that they should allow it in? Or if not, why not? So, Buju, before we get too far in, do you want to maybe take a shot at the question? You could be the first to answer it, and then I can answer it later.
I'm just surprised at how big of a hot button issue it is. I mean, obviously, I enjoy being able to bring a cooler into the racetrack, but I'm always kind of surprised when you are allowed to. It feels like in 2026 that you're almost getting away with something when you walk in with a racetrack, especially if there's alcohol in it. I mean, walking in, being able to, as far as I know, last year you could bring in your own alcohol at Kalamazoo. That was great.
Yep. Well, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, I don't drink, so maybe it could look like bias from my part because I don't drink, so it doesn't impact me. But it's one of those things that, like, I know New Paris, we have Chris Mandel in here. They allow people to bring in food, drinks, and everything. You have cookouts, you have all that, and it smells really good on a race day. And there's still quite a few people who take advantage of the concessions, like, right? That doesn't seem to hurt them, but in some ways it doesn't help them, right? Because for some tracks, concessions just that little bit, can help at the end of a night. And but a lot of times it's law. And I think Crash or Adventures, laws determine coolers or not, and insurance, right? Like, I mean, that's a big thing that I think sometimes, like with Owasso, I feel so bad for the management there. Rex Wheeler is a friend of mine on Facebook, and and he shared the post, but then if they read the comments section, which was just comical to say the least, people, well, I know I'm not going to that track ever again. Well, then you really probably weren't a fan of that track. If alcohol is the reason you're not going. And, especially when they sell it there. But when I think about that, and I think of everything that was said about the management and the ownership and everything in there, including by people who I know, who I have respect for, it's like Rex Wheeler has spent millions of
literally millions
of dollars on this. And I've not been to Owasso before, pre or post, the Wheeler era. Like, I've not been there yet, but I've seen pictures before, and I've certainly seen pictures after. It's like they've spent all this money on that facility that he certainly didn't have to do. It could be closed right now, like a lot of tracks, right? And for them to be just absolutely annihilated online over beer.
And it's available at the racetrack, by the way.
And
you can purchase it at the racetrack.
Right. Yeah. But there were comments of, well, you're going to sell everything. Well, they are going to have what they're going to have. That's and I tell you, like, I bet if you go to Luke Combs' concert this weekend at Notre Dame, I guarantee you're paying for alcohol at Owasso than what you will at Notre Dame. And I guarantee for a lot of those people who are Michigan fans and Michigan State fans and go to college football games, you're paying way more for that alcohol. Or if you go to a Detroit Lions game, you're paying way more for that alcohol than what you are going to be at Owasso Speedway. But and granted, people do complain about the concession prices too at those places. Like, I do know that. But at the same time, it's like Michigan law dictates, just like Indiana law. I know South Bend has dealt with this many times, where this is a law, right? Like, and tracks can't just break the law, or guess what? There's no track,
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's where I feel bad. And again, and I'm not anti-cooler, right? I understand why people bring in coolers. When I was a fan at South Bend, I used to bring in a Pepsi until they stopped saying, until they said, well, you can't. Well, then I went to the concession and bought it there. Like, it didn't bother me at whatsoever. Because, okay, I can't bring it in, and I'm not going to try to sneak it in.
Yeah.
Obviously, pits are different. If people get a pit pass, obviously drivers and all that can bring stuff in and all. They can't do alcohol during, but yeah, reading the comments yesterday, that's where I was really disappointed, because it's like this family has spent millions of dollars and it's beer that people are upset about. It's almost like a privilege, a Wassel privilege.
And you mentioned they're like concerts in Notre Dame or Michigan Stadium. Good luck. You're not bringing anything in there, let alone alcohol. So yeah, I mean, it's very much I don't want to say it's a privilege to have, but I mean, the racetracks that we do have, it is a privilege. And you never know how long it might last, depending on the laws and insurance, as you said. And I mean, as the racing business changes, tracks might need to sell more concessions. So as time goes on, I mean, you can expect these laws to change. You kind of just got to flow with it. You're going to enjoy the races either way, whether you brought in your own beer or you bought it at the racetrack. You're still going to have a good time at the races.
So if we do want to remind people, I know comments are coming in crazy, but the throttle response for tonight is, should racetracks allow fans to bring in their own coolers? And this is not considering medical needs. Like, obviously, if someone for a medical diagnosed reason, and I know some tracks maybe can't require proof or whatever, but if it's like a true, like, hey, I have diabetes or I have these things, right? Tracks do have medical exemptions. They do have different things like that. But if it's like, oh, it's my emotional support.
Yeah, my emotional support. Yeah, my emotional support igloo.
Guess what? The certificate that you printed from Google does not work. I can promise you that. And so, so again, that's the question that we're talking about. And again, Buju started it off, and I'm just saying, like, one thing that I suggested to someone is, if you want to bring in a cooler, $25. If you don't bring in a cooler, $15. So you upcharge.
Yes.
If you want to bring a cooler, it's a cooler privilege. It's like
that's what at the drive-in theater down in Plymouth. I remember this business model since I was a kid. Yep. You brought in food, it was an extra fee. I think that's a great model for racetracks as well.
Well, because then, if you're bringing in your own stuff, then tracks aren't making concession stand money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get it. It is a tight economy. We're not immune to that. But for tracks too, again, I've seen some of the income that tracks make on concessions, and I can promise you it's not what people think it is.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
For the number of cases of food that were sold, and that they replace those cases, right? That the margins are super slim. And they're too.
That the conspiracy that always goes around in comments that promoters are dragging shows out to make concession stand sales is so funny. Because if you saw what tracks are making from concessions, you would know that is not the case.
I mean, the one night when I saw what a track made, I went, "That's it. Your concessions were busy nonstop." But there's not a lot of margin there, and so that's just something that, again, I used to like when I want to say it was 2019 that I would bring. If I started at a softball game earlier in the day or softball tournament, I brought a snack in or whatever, like chips or whatever. And when it was said not to, then okay, well, that's the rule. I'm not going to try to sneak it in, even though I know, like, movie theaters, we sneak it in. So it's like, no, I don't. Like, maybe I'm one of those old fuddy-duddies that just doesn't do that. But hey, it is what it is. I guess I am who I am. But it's like, no, I'll go to the concession stand. The concession stand food is, good. We only get so many weeks to enjoy racetrack food, so why not, right? Oh,
absolutely. Having racetrack food at the racetrack is just what is that? Rite of passage. There we go. I was gonna say that. I was gonna flip those two words. I straightened it out there before I got it out of my mouth. But yeah, a rite of passage to have racetrack food at the racetrack. Little hot dog, watching some street stocks. What's better than that?
Not too much better. And speaking of concessions, we do know a track, one of your favorite things with concessions, if we wanted to jump in, just because now we're back on time here. We were a little early, but certainly people keep answering the questions. But Intimidator 100 tomorrow. So if you're ready, obviously Top Row Racing Media will have coverage of the event starting pretty early. My goal is to have all onboards. Cars don't hit the track until 4:30. Gates open at 2:30. So my goal is to have as many of those cameras mounted and done as possible, so that way I can, get on the roof and maybe do some preview of who's qualifying, who's racing, well, not qualifying, but who's racing and hot lapping, just to kind of put it out there, then get down to the infield and take pictures and everything. So coverage from Top Row, but I know this is an event that everybody circles. And so if you're ready to dive into the conversation around the Kalamazoo opener tomorrow, I'm ready.
Absolutely. Me and my friends are making the about hour 15, hour 20 drive from South Bend to check it out after work tomorrow. It's going to be a long day, but ready to see some racing at the end of it, because we got some good fields in all three classes at Kalamazoo tomorrow.
Yep, and certainly for those who are Kalamazoo fans or want to make a guess, if you want to say who you think is going to win the Intimidator 100 tomorrow, Kalamazoo has been posting the entry list throughout for last couple weeks, actually, since the South Bend Auto Show. And we know there's some big dogs that are coming into town. Obviously, Tyler Rohrig, who's always a favorite there. Adam Terry has won the event before. In fact, last year won the event. Phil Bozell has won on the grand stage. You never know, Bryce. This is his second year in there. Marty Crawford, legend with Racer X. So there's certainly tons of awesome talent that will be there tomorrow. But we also have front wheel drive racing and street stock racing, and I know we haven't quite seen those fields, but we can pretty much guess on some of the names that will be there. Safely be there. Like, I think Logan Maynard has already announced that he'll be there. I think Brock, plans to be there. And so, there, even for our straight stocks, there'll be a lot of awesome people there in front wheel drives. I think they're going to be parked anywhere and everywhere. And that group is always fun too. So, which class do you want to hit first?
Well, that's tough. Let's start off with the headliner. Let's start off with the late models. I think we start with late models.
So again, going 100 laps, and they are the third race. So it'll be the front wheel drive A, street stock A. Oh, there might be a B too. Maybe street stock B, and then I think it's the Intimidator. So it's third or fourth race in the schedule. Again, Kalamazoo, this is historic. This is what they've done on opening night every year, is features only. So there are no heat races or anything. We're going right in at 7:30 to the front wheel O'Reilly Auto Parts front wheel drive A feature. But so for the Intimidator, who are you looking to see do well?
It's hard to pick against Tyler Rohrig if you're looking at a winner, right? I mean, if it's a big race, I feel like you're picking the 24 if he's on the property. But there's so many heavy hitters and past winners in the field. Like you said, you got Adam Terry, Brian Bergaker, Jeff Gannis. I've been saying that name wrong for 20 years. I always have to pause before I say it.
Yeah.
And the Bows, not to mention the hometown heroes and Phil and Bryce. So just a stacked field in the Intimidator 100. I'm very fired up for that. And two more great classes on top of that. But yeah, 100 laps in the headlining class doesn't get better than that for an opening night at that. Kalamazoo always starts off with a bang here.
Well, with 5,000 to win on the line, I know Blake Childers is coming over from the east side of the state, and he's always one to watch too. And so obviously has done well at Owasso. And I think this is a new ride for him, if I remember right. Maybe not. Yeah, but I felt like when we talked at Lorraine, he raced in the street stock for Buddy Head at Lorraine. I felt like he was changing rides for this year, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. That was August, like 16th. So a lot can happen between August and now, but he's definitely a heavy hitter who's coming from the east side. And I know there are a couple others who are coming from the east side, and maybe some others who will be showing up too. But as you said, Tyler, obviously he knows what to do, knows how to do it there, has, been a past champion. And I think a cat might jump into the screen here. I'm going to be like, we have Kitty,
Yeah, and we had Rat Dog on Monday as well.
Yeah, we had Rat Dog, so at least we're consistent here. But Gizmo decided to join the club here. But anyways, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, but Adam Terry, I think is a favorite in there. He certainly has challenge for the front and a lot of different races, and so
Mark Shook's the name we haven't mentioned yet either.
Yep, and he always runs well too. Well, you have Matt Frazier there. And so, and I know Matt Frazier, he'll have an onboard camera this Friday. Phil Bozell, Bryce Bozell will have an onboard camera. So, three cars right there, who'll have onboards. He'll give a lot of good views of what's going on the track. But, even with Matt Frazier, but yeah, Mark Shook, he won last or was it last year or the year before he won a
2
late
years.
model race?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I know he ended the season at Super Shoe with the win in the late model, and he had that thing hooked into. He's our template late model defending champion, so that was fun to watch him do that last year because anytime he's on the property, right? I mean, it's like even when you get Kyle Ribble in there and you get a lot of these names for like street stocks who are on the property, you just know like this is going to be a good night, and that's where I hope fans sometimes realize like I've had a chance to travel around to a lot of areas and every area has like their strong suit, but it's like we are very blessed with a lot of top end drivers here who could go to that next level. So it's one of those, anytime I pick someone to win who I think they usually don't do too well, so that I want to truly pick someone, but I think you have front runners, and I think at the end of the night you're going to watch the scoreboard to see where Phil Bozell is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to watch where Adam Terry is. They're probably going to be close to each other. I really want to see where Marty Crawford is going to be because he, just with his legendary career and the legend behind the X, right? And then obviously where's Tyler? But I also want to know where's Matt Frazier. He was front runner last year. He led a lot of laps, and I want to say it was the Clash that he led a lot of laps, and even the Intimidator he led a lot of laps. I replayed that on Facebook last Friday, and that 97 was out there for a long time, and he'll have a pretty quality camera number too. So that he does really well with that camera number. So I'm like, we're not breaking the system here. It's kind of like superstition.
Yeah. And that's what makes a great race great is how many winners are possible in that field. Like like all the names we've mentioned, I won't go through the list again because we've said all the names 5 times now. But it's so many contenders in. I think 15 cars were confirmed. I saw on Kalamazoo's page when we were looking to start here. So yeah, just 15 cars, and it feels like at least 12 of them can win. You know what I mean? That's what makes a great race great.
And for Marcus, Stephen Needles will not be there. It's actually a cool story. Stephen and I went to school together. So he graduated a year before me. So I've known Needles for a really long time. But yeah, no, Steve Needles will not be there tomorrow. But again, in the comments, if you have a winner who you're thinking, just even based on the names that Kalamazoo has posted. But one thing that, sometimes, again, I get frustrated with the comment section. And, and I try not to comment back because that just leads to more things. But one of the things is that I saw people going, well, I'm not going because Tyler Org's going to be there and he's going to win it. I don't know. Tyler's been on the property before and hasn't won the race. Yeah. So, you just never know who can win, when they can win. Obviously he's hard to beat. He swept 2 weekends in a row last year at Kalamazoo where he won the 500 and then turned around and won the Kalamazoo Clash. But he's also been on the property and hasn't parked. And so I hate the assumption, right, where you're basing on whether you're going or not based on the name. And
I think Tyler would think that's ridiculous himself. I mean, yeah, you look at this field there, you can't assume a winner. I mean, obviously he would be the favorite. Obviously, if you're putting betting odds on it, Tyler would be the favorite to win it. But that's what makes racing awesome is you never know what could happen. These guys are going for 100 laps. You got comers and goers, wrecks happen, tires blow. It's hard for me to describe because that's why I love racing so much is how it plays out over a long race and how it can come down to the finish of, it's 100 laps and it come down to a foot. That's what makes racing great. And to stay home because you assume who's going to win is an insane notion to me.
Yep. Yeah. And there was quite a few comments that said that. I'm like, again, people would be mad if he wasn't coming, but then they're mad that he is coming. And it's one of those, like, you can't have it both ways, and I get it, right? Like there are drivers when I was a fan, and I'm still a fan, but I'm on the media side now, but there are drivers certainly who I rooted against that now, I have such a deep respect for because I learned so much about them on this side where sometimes I want to go back to my fan self and slap myself around a little bit and go, you just don't know, right? But you base it on what you hear other people say and do, and who's watched this for 40 years or whatever, and then it's like, again, just incoming cat possibly, but he was I don't know what his thing is right now, but I think he has a few challenges, a few cookies for a dozen. But anyway, so if you see a cat, I apologize, but he's like possessed right now, so kind of worried for myself. But and they like jumping on the laptop too. It's like they don't,
Yeah.
of course the laptop's open, so we want to jump on it now. But anyway, sorry. But that's something that, when I see those kind of things, and it's like, man, I've learned so much on this side, and I wish other fans would see that. These are all people. These are people who live in our communities. These are people who work in our communities, who do a lot in our communities. So I get it, whether you like them as a fan or you root against them. I mean, it's no different than being a Notre Dame, Michigan fan, right? You hate Michigan or you hate Notre Dame, but you're not fans of either unless you have a common enemy. So I get it, but at the same time, it's like, if that's a reason you see someone's name on the entry list, and that's the reason you are saying I'm not going now, I don't know.
And at the end of the day, if there's a guy that's winning as often as Tyler has won in these big races, I mean, there's a reason that's happening. I appreciate watching something like that happening. I appreciate what Tyler's done in the race car. I think he's one of the best race car drivers in the country. I love watching Tyler Roard race.
And again, that's where we're lucky, because you never know when that chance is not going to be around, right? Yeah. And so it's like, as a generation, to appreciate that, because eventually, careers come to an end. I mean, that's just how it goes, right? And so it's one of those, like, we should enjoy it while we can, because you just never know. He might get the call Saturday, say, hey, we have a NASCAR Cup for you, come race NASCAR. And I don't know if it's the thing he ever wants to do or not, but there's always that chance, right? And so again, I think that race is going to be fun. But one class I'm looking forward to this year is the street stock racing. I know I just saw Alex Sexton's car. Matt Elsey posted it yesterday, and I mean, that looks fun. And Alex has proven to be a contender each year, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, with Kyle Ribble, he's always got his car, it seems, set up. And there's quite a few who I think, now that some of them have a year under their belt, I'm excited, for like Anthony Duell, to see what he can do in the street stock. Trevor Hoekstra, has come around where, he's a little squirrely, when he first started racing street stocks, and kudos to him. He jumped right into street stocks, right? And so, he went big, and kind of like Anthony Duell went big. And so, they've all developed. And so I think that's the thing, is now that some drivers are getting into their second year or third year or fourth year of racing with the class, street stock racing at Kalamazoo, I don't think you can get much better, right? Every track, of course, has its class that does really well, but it's like, when you look at a field and you have 5 or 6 or 7 champions from the area in one field, we have Cody Lawler, who I think is committing most of the season to Kalamazoo, or when they can. Yeah. So certainly you add him in, he has a championship on his resume. I'm excited to see what he can do. And we just had Evan Verdine on the other night on the Monday Night Rewind, and he said Kalamazoo's tough. And there are quite a few drivers who can win a lot of other places, and they get to Kalamazoo and they too say, man, this place, we just have a hard time figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I think of last year, when you had so many close finishes at the line, that literally like inches separated the winners, that on any given night, anyone can win that street stock race. And so I'm excited to see, who all will fall into the class this year. I know some cars are still being finished, so we may not see them tomorrow, but we may see them on the following Friday. But I know, when Colin Bozell comes around, obviously Colin is, he was on a hook last year for about a month and a half, 2 months. He couldn't be stopped. Yeah. Right? Wherever he went, he was winning. And even last year in one race, he ran the whole time. And you're like, how the heck is he doing that? And he ended up placing fourth in that, because once Ricky LeDuc caught him, and it took a few laps, but once Ricky got past him, then, but Colin stayed along the top there, and that was impressive to watch. And so obviously he's a front runner to see what he can do too on the track. So again, there's just a lot of names to look forward to, and
kind of
see.
Yeah, to kind of jump back what you were saying, you mentioned progression, and you mentioned our guest on the Monday Night Rewind, Evan Verdine. So I spend a lot of time with Evan. He's one of my good friends, and I think about how much he's progressed in the last few years at his home tracks in South Bend and Plymouth. And you talked about all the young drivers in the street stock field at Kalamazoo, and how they're going into their second or third or fourth years. So they're only learning this tough track more and more and more every week, making that field tighter and tighter and tighter. Street stocks are my personal favorite class to race anywhere. And Kalamazoo street stocks are top notch. So I'm very excited for this race. I know Nick Pressler's heading up. That always adds some excitement when the Presslers are in the house. They're always fun to watch. Is Metzger racing in the? Oh, he's a template. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I totally messed that up. Yeah,
he'll be in the Munson Construction late models this year. So, which is a new sponsor to Kalamazoo. We have a few new sponsors. So, he'll make his debut next week. So, which along with our limited late models, that's what next week's show. That's what I'm excited for too, is to talk about the limited late models, because I think our class this year for that is going to be just bonkers.
I believe I saw Tyler Hufford was going to be in the house for street stocks though, so that's a bit a guy who already has a big win under his belt.
Already has a win, and he does really well at Kalamazoo. I know they're working. I think they're working to get Kaylee a car. His wife, she races street stocks too. I don't remember, especially with her hours now. I don't remember if they were going to have it done or not. But you know, the other class that will be there too will be the front wheel drives, and so. You know, when you think about that, you have some people this year. I'm trying to remember who the driver was. They're in my race pass. I almost want to pull it up and see, but they moved up to street stocks, and I'm trying to remember who it was that moved up. But I went, oh, that'll be fun. And so I'm gonna cheat here, and I'm going to look at the entries last week for practice, which probably won't tell too much. But once the name pops up, I'll be able to.
Is it the Chucky car?
Yeah, I don't think Chucky's is done yet, but that Chucky car though, when it's done, JR, we did mention Logan, Jeff, and Brock. You're late. we talked about those drivers, so we have.
Yeah, sure. I'll elaborate more on Logan, Jeff, and Brock if you want me to. Logan, a multiple track champion in Indiana. Jeff, a contender anywhere he goes. I believe he's in the Sweet 16 for the late model race as well, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so that he's a big contender in both races if he's racing street stocks as well. And Brock, I mean, how can you'd be crazy if you pick against Brock anywhere he goes, I feel like. So, yeah,
it's okay,
great field there as well.
We won't judge against you, but
that's all right, JR.
Definitely mention their names. I remember I said Brock will be there, and obviously he can win anywhere.
You're not wrong, JR. They absolutely deserve to be talked about. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, and with Logan, right, you know, 2-time champion last year, won at New Paris a couple times and had that car going. So that's where I was trying to see who the new name was, but it doesn't look like they were at the practice last week. But there's a couple. It's going to bother me until I can remember it, but I know that street stock group, there's a couple front wheel drive racers who are looking to dabble, and Chucky is one of them. His design on that car, once that comes out, it has a huge Chucky on the hood and a Chucky down the side. And so I'm excited. He's excited for that. He's been building that for a couple of years, but
that's cool. Racing's supposed to be fun. Yeah. They're doing.
But other than and he has been one of our most consistent front wheel drive racers. Obviously Nick Lehman, has been super consistent, always in the top 10. Chucky has always been in the top 5.
I've raced against him a lot.
The last couple of years. Obviously you're going to have Matthew LC Jr., who has, his car always hooked in. You're going to have Matt LC. Christina Rance is not racing this year, or at least not racing consistently. So, you got 2 LCs, obviously Scott LC. Gunnar Gale has a new car, so he's going to be jumping in.
Dave Leonard, always the contender if he's going to be up there.
Yeah. One driver I don't want to forget on the street stocks is Bo Brady. I don't know if he'll be racing Kalamazoo consistently this year. He's a Galesburg car, but he does come to Kalamazoo from time to time. And last year, watching him grow in the street stock, he had jumped from front wheel drives to street stocks, and his sister was still racing front wheel drives, but they kind of got in it at the same time. And Bo has really come around. He is not going to be a Kalamazoo, I'm guessing, is what James is referring to.
I think he's replying to Donald there.
Okay. Okay. Watching that, I know we're talking, people are engaging with us too, but I'm excited to see what Bo Brady does. When he comes out on the track, I call it as Bo time, which is also trademarked by the way by Bojangles. I call it Bo time, and then Bree mode, when Bree Brady comes out. So she'll be fun to watch too, because she pedal to the metal, she sends it and does her thing. So Again, not knowing every front wheel drive who will race there, but we know a lot of the names who will be on the property. So Scott Gates had an incredible run last
Oh
week
yeah, fast
at
car.
N40, and he's done well at Kalamazoo, and that's something that, he's a Springport driver who came over to Kalamazoo, did weekly racing. And he, that's the one thing that I like about being at a track consistently, even though I have a lot of opportunities to travel around and go to other tracks. I really do like being a home person because I love watching that progression. I love watching, going up to drivers, throughout the season saying, well, but remember this or remember that, and just for them to see their progression. So that's something that I'm really excited for too, is to see our rookies this year. I do know we have one front row drive racer. He was going to be at N40 last week, but decided to go to Kalamazoo instead to practice there. He's going to be a rookie. So we'll have some new cars. I'm excited to see who's jumping in. I know Braden Luke has a new car. He'll be one to watch. Go ahead.
That's always one of the best parts of opening night anyway. I was seeing all the new paint schemes and wraps.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. I feel like a little kid seeing all those new race cars the first night out.
Yeah, and some are still going to be bare, especially.
Yeah, for sure. That's fun too, though.
A lot of people running behind, and so I know for those who use Quality Graphics, I mean, I was literally there today from 9:15 a.m. till 4:30, and that's all Matt was doing was printing. They graphicked up Blake Pletz. They did his mini wedge while I was there, and then they were getting Colin Bozell's things done. They were getting Braden Loop things done. They were getting other people things done, and I mean, it was nonstop. Christina was printing T-shirt stuff. I was printing T-shirt stuff, and I mean, it was busy in there. And so I know some people may be bare when they come tomorrow, but over the next couple of weeks, you'll really start to see that. And just from the things I saw, I went. Colin has a pretty cool design. Obviously, I didn't take a picture of it. That's not my place to do it. But looking at his graphics, he went with a different scheme this year. So I'm excited to see it on the car. It sounds like he has a new body on the car this year. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. But I also know we're kind of running up on time. So if we want to talk about the Night of Destruction too, that's where, we can keep going on Kalamazoo and the drivers. But I know, again, for this Saturday, the weather's, again, looking better. At New Paris, it was looking a little suspicious the other day, but looks like the Mother Nature is opening up a gift of it will be a little chilly, but no rain or anything. So I know Night of Destructions are not your jam, but you've gotten to talk with Tabitha DeWitt on here and learn a little bit about her. I know DJ McCotter, and you've raced with him, and he started at Night of Destruction. So if you've never, I mean, you've been to New Paris one before, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. New Paris Night of Destructions are very, they're top notch. I've used that phrase once already tonight, but I feel like they are top shelf as far as Night of Destructions go. I've only been to one, but the one I went to was fantastic. So if you are a Night of Destruction person, or you're thinking about being a Night of Destruction person, New Paris is definitely a good spot for you on Saturday.
Or something to do. It's $15 to get in. So this is their lower one. If it's right on my race pass, but I also think on their flyer it's $15. So I'm pretty sure it was still 15. But I know sometimes on my race pass the numbers get backwards and all these things. But they do use pit pay. So if people want to use pit pay to pay their pit passes and everything, they do get a little bit of a discount. Tina Lewis just joined in, and I want to give a shout out to Tina. There's a whole new regime at Kalamazoo. I mean, obviously Donnie took over early last year and brought in a lot of people, but Tina has jumped into a lot of roles over the off season, taking on my race pass, getting drivers registered, getting a lot of different things set up and going for race day. So I'm going to give a huge shout out to Tina, because I know a lot of people with some of the changes have taken on more work. So they're doing a couple people's jobs in one. And so, or it feels like that at least. And so certainly someone who has had to deal with a lot, and especially my race pass in itself. I mean, timing and scoring is not the easiest beast to handle. And so I just want to give a huge shout out to her because I know she's taking the lead on a lot of that stuff. So since she popped in here, I want to make sure that she gets a shout out. So, but other than that, with the Night of Destruction, New Paris did post their lineup. I want to their Pac-Man race. If you don't go for any reason but the Pac-Man, that in itself, especially if the Shark is a Pac-Man, you'll know. because everybody will start cheering if that shark fin starts appearing. And I know Aaron Hapner just posted his car the other day. We have him as a guest on Monday coming up. So I'm excited to see him. Obviously, you got Road Rage Mafia, who will be there. Their team is always competitive. Coneheads, and I promise you'll be able to find Coneheads. They'll be in their orange sweatshirts probably by that time, and they'll be all over. You'll be able to pick out the Coneheads. So I'm excited to see what they can do. You know, you got Chapman, who's a part of that group too. He's always a contender. I do know that the Burnout group, the Carmen Electra, will be there, and so they're bringing that car. They always put on an awesome show. They usually get 30s for their points, but you never know if Joel is there and he's not Joel, Ben. If Ben's there, I call him Kawa Spinner. And if he can keep it straight, if he can do his thing, but he makes it a show no matter what. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, in the ladies' race, Tabitha DeWitt, who we had on a few weeks ago, she has quite a few fans. The new pair of Shark, you got the Minions.
Yeah.
And that's just who I've seen so far. I haven't even seen everybody and their cars yet. Oh, Jacob Kelly, I was going to show his car on the show, but I didn't have a chance to make the graphic like I'd hoped to. And he always knocks his designs out. He's one of those. He had the airplane car a few years ago.
Okay.
Where he made it look like an airplane, and it even had the spinners, and propellers and everything. So they put in a lot of work for that Night of Destruction. I imagine. I don't know what Luke Combs will do. I don't know how much that concert at the University of Notre Dame will impact people coming in terms of competitors and everything. But I promise you, they could have 20 competitors and put on a show, but they're not going to have just 20. They'll probably have north of 100 cars easily. I don't know if it'll be the 200 plus like they did for the October one, but you never know.
I guarantee you're getting a better value for your dollar at New Paris than you are at Luke Combs.
Oh yeah. Well, and I know people who might be Luke Combs might think different, right? But yes, for $15, you get to be at the racetrack. You get to be with thousands of other people who will come there. And I mean, it rained a few years ago on their Night of Destruction, and they still had a decent crowd. In the one picture, you saw nothing but umbrellas, up in the air. And so I'm like, it is raining, and those people are still there. And so they have diehard fans. If it was going to storm, I don't know that I would be on the roof recording. I think I'd probably try to be creative and find somewhere else to record that, I wouldn't get electrocuted possibly. But, it's one of those things that, again, I cannot sing the praises enough of the Night of Destruction crew at New Paris. I wrote articles on it. I mean, it truly is a family there. And when you walk in the pit area, it just feels that way. It has a homey feel to it. And so I don't know if there's banjos playing around there singing Kumbaya or anything like that, but you'll see competitors interacting. They'll trash talk each other, but they're out to put a show, and that's where the trash talk comes from. So again, that's something that's really exciting for the Night of Destruction.
So, as the casual Night of Destruction fan among us, can you explain to me what a wrench it up race is?
Yeah. So New Paris, I call it the Arena of Destruction. And the reason why I call it the Arena of Destruction is because literally they don't have an inside wall. M40 has an inside wall. They have to watch what they can do. They can't just go everywhere, right? Kalamazoo has an inside wall. You can't just go everywhere. Hartford has an inside wall. You can't just go everywhere. New Paris, no wall. So that's why the Pac-Man's crazy. But for the wrench it up, I want to say it's a kidney bean if you think of it that way. So what they will do is they will race through 3 and 4, and then they'll curve in, but they won't use the 8. So New Paris usually puts tires there and other barriers. So they'll curve in and come back out. And then that's what they'll do. And they'll do the wrench it up for that. And they'll do the wrench it up also for the trailer race. So it makes the trailer race a little bit more exciting. Last year, 2 cars ended up on top of each other. So I said, one car got on top of another car. And 6 months later, we're having another Night of Destruction. Congratulations. It's a Night of Destruction. I thought it was clever. And without actually, because then I sometimes get messages, you have kids who look at your Facebook page. Well, Facebook is for people who are like 18 and older. So,
exactly.
so if you're showing your kid that, I'm sure you've said worse. So anyways, so that's the Wrench It Up. And last year, if I remember right, at the October one, they did Lights Out Race in the Wrench It Up style. And so that one I actually shot with, it was crazy.
I would think.
Ben flipped in that one, if I remember right, or something. That might have been the trailer race set. I think someone flipped over because they hit a trailer that was left. And that was wild. And I had night vision on for my camera. I recorded it in night vision, which I thought was pretty cool. And because it was nighttime, and it was actually quite easy. It was easier to see them. And that was fun. And so they did that in the Wrench It Up style too. The Push Me race, I think a lot of people know that one. The front car won't be in gear, but the back car will be the one pushing. And then the New Paris fire truck, I think, makes 4 visits. Depends on if it's already raining tomorrow and it's already wet, it may not make as many visits. And just for those who are highly offended by the fire department coming on and putting water down, I have it on good authority that New Paris pays for that. That is not a taxpayer expense. I guarantee, Buju, one of the videos on Saturday with the New Paris fire truck will go crazy and wild, and people will get on there and complain and say, "Oh, look at our tax dollars at work." By the way, by people who don't even live in New Paris.
Yeah.
And why
there's 300 people that live in New Paris, and you're not one of them.
And they pay for it. The track pays for it. They put Don soap in there, which then that is a controversy to some people, and it's like, then you get all these firefighters. It literally was shared in a firefighter group last year, and they were all debating on what they put in their tanker. So I'm like, I think there's more important things to talk about, but whatever, right? It's cool. It's, I guess it's promotion for Speedway.
I'm sure it's cool for the fire department.
And they had, the kids, right? And the kids will, wave as it goes by. So it's a fun thing, but it also helps slow down the speeds. And that's what will determine, if the track is holding the moisture, like last year for October, it held moisture pretty well. I think the truck made 3 visits, but when it's July and it's freaking hot outside, it'll make 4 visits. So it'll come out first before the ladies race. Usually, and it's going to be colder tomorrow. So I have a feeling.
They have it on the schedule here.
It counted as one of their events. Yep.
Yeah. So they have it between the burnout contest and GI Jane race, between the car enduro and the figure 8 1-on-1s, between the mattress race and the second place race, and between the Wrench It Up race and the trailer race.
And sometimes they might send it out earlier because you'll hear them say speeds are getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people have to remember is these are gut and go cars. These are not like your front wheel drive racers or Hornet racers or late model racers who have roll cages. Some do have cages, but a lot of them are gut and go. So you do have to maintain the speeds.
I flagged a Night of Destruction last weekend. I mean, I'm the most forward man to the action, and the difference in the speeds between when the track is wet versus when it's not wet would surprise you.
Oh yeah. And so the ladies race, they'll slide around the most. The enduro, it depends. Again, it depends on how it holds the water. Last year, a couple times as the race went on, it was getting drier, and all of a sudden you can be like, "Oh, they are sending it." Yeah. But I know New Paris has installed some extra additional lights, safety lights around the track, so hopefully that'll help more. But one thing that people should also look forward to, I know it lasts long. It is a long event, but it's the 3-on-3 figure 8 drags. They'll have the spectator ones, and those are fun. But the 3-on-3 is contact. So because those are the normal Night of Destruction cars, and they'll send them 3. They'll do figure 8, and those get crazy. And one of the things to win, so Jeremy Wardinger at some point will remind them, hit somebody, right? This is a Night of Destruction. We want you to hit somebody, and they'll start taking each other out in turn 1. They'll take each other out in turn 2. They'll go reverse. They'll do different things. But to win, ultimately in the final battle, to win, you're guaranteed. If you don't hit somebody, you can cross first, but you're not winning because you didn't meet the criteria to hit somebody. So you got to hit them at least. You got to hit somebody at least once. So that does get wild. Again, there's some rounds that you're like, oh, okay, it is what it is, right? But and it goes for a little bit, usually about 40 minutes or so it'll last. But there are a lot of exciting ones in there. So that's something to watch, because when they come out of turn, it would be turn 3 on a normal night, and they're shooting for the front stretch. That's where, I mean, they're far and wide. And so when I truly say the arena of destruction, they are racing on every surface. And Kalamazoo, New Pairs did widen that area a little bit. They put some extra pavement down last year, so it is a little wider, but you'll still have cars in the grass. There always seems to be at the spring one, at least one car flips over. So usually during the Pac-Man race too, it's usually the Pac-Man race will have at
I
least
wonder why.
flip over. Usually. At this one specifically, not all of them, not all season, but it seems to be the spring opener. There's somebody who will flip over sometime. And so again, it's just for $15. You can't beat the entertainment that you're going to get. And I think it's kids, what is it, 12 and under, 6 to 12 or something like that. Let me pull out my race pass. I don't want to say it wrong, because it's not the same price for the next one. So
while you're pulling that up, I'll mention how big of a fan I've always been of mattress races. I might not be the world's biggest night destruction guy, but there's something about a mattress race. I'll cackle the whole time it's happening.
Oh yeah, it's
that's good content.
Oh yeah, that I always want I wish they would play the CM Punk "Go to Sleep" as like the but it's like it's like someone's gonna hit the go to sleep finisher during the mattress race. I always chuckle to myself at that one. No one else does, but I'm like, well, I made myself laugh, and sometimes that's worth it. But it is 6 to 12, $5, and children $5 free. I sometimes I couldn't remember if it was 10 or 5, but I do know adults 13 up or 15, which is less than most night of destructions in the area, at least for this one. Usually it's $20, but this one's 15. So again, you won't be able to beat it. The concessions are great. Other than that, I do want to remind people you can continue to answer the question even off. We're about to end the show here because this one is short. We don't want to. Our Thursday is not going to be super long, but it'll be a format sort of like this where we'll talk and dive into specific races. But our question for tonight was: should racetracks allow fans to bring in their own coolers? So that's something we were interested in. Again, some is determined by law, some is determined by licensing and all that, which is from law. So we're just interested. I know a lot of people answered, and I'll try to go back after I eat some dinner. I've not done that yet. After, I'll try to go back and answer. I do want to do a cheap plug like Mankind. Don't forget, Monday Night Rewind is this Monday again at 7 p.m. We'll touch base a little bit on what's happened, but we do have 3 guests again. So that show's longer. That's more guest centric. So we'll start off with Aaron Hapner at 7:05, and then at 7:30 we're bringing in DJ McCotter.
Oh boy, that's gonna be something.
That'll be good. And but he in Illinois, or not in Indiana, he's over in the Central Time Zone. So for his work schedule, that works better. So he'll be on at 7:30. And then we'll have the Midwest Truck Series from Wisconsin on the Monday Night Rewind around 8. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Around 8:05. So again, those are ish timing. We do try to stay on schedule, but we're not going to cut a guest off mid sentence, or we do want them to finish their thing and not be like, sorry, come back. All right, then Ron Varash comes back next week after that, and Ron has the whole episode again. And then May 4th will be Tim Dibble, and so the 4th will be with us with the Dibbles. And so Timmy may make an appearance too, and so that is coming up. So again, Monday Night Rewind. This past episode with Evan, Frank, and Tyler did bonkers. We're averaging about 2,100 viewers within a 24-hour period. So I don't know if they watch the whole show. Facebook doesn't give me all those metrics. It breaks it down into 3-second views, 1-minute views, and then no more. It stops right at 1 minute. So I don't know how long people are watching, but the fact that we're getting that many people and that much coverage for still a new show, we haven't been doing it for long.
And I also want to stress that you can go on whatever your favorite podcast that might be, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you find your podcast, you can listen to both of these back, Monday Night Rewind and Thursday Night Throttle. You don't have to look at us that way.
And we do have quite a few people who are watching on Apple. I can't talk Apple Podcasts. I didn't know because I haven't looked at the metrics over there. Like if people are watching it there or not, I just haven't really dived into it, because I knew in Spotify tells me all the time, and I use Spotify to pump it out. But Apple Podcasts actually had pretty good numbers, and Amazon Music didn't. And I'm like, okay, I listen to Amazon Music, or no, I listen to Apple Music. I don't listen to Amazon Music, so maybe it's not as popular. Than iHeartRadio had some too. So I'm like, okay, that kind of tells us where people listen or not. I watch where the WWE posts their stuff, and I'm like, well, they're using the same kind of platforms we are. They're not all over, but with like Stephanie McMahon's, Stephanie show, and then Cody Rhodes and they all use the same platform. So I'm like, oh, hey, well, there you go. Like we picked the right ones, I guess, because if they're using them, then maybe those are the popular ones. And I know there's others. I just haven't pushed to. It's already enough to manage where we put this. So again, a pretty short show. That's what the goal is of Thursdays, to preview. So I'm just going to show the graphics one more time, and then we can wrap up right here. So again, Friday, do know that Kankakee canceled. They announced that about 6:30 our time. So Kalamazoo Intimidator, 6:45. Around 6:45 is when single car qualifying for Outlaws does take place. So if you want to watch single car qualifying, 6:45. And then on Saturday, we do know Crystal has already canceled. So that one's not a thing. But otherwise, Grundy County, I don't think has canceled yet with the Big 8 series. That's 5 p.m. Central Time. Indianapolis Speedrome for $5. You can head on down to Indianapolis. And they have figure 8 racing, all the things down there for 7 p.m. And then New Paris Speedway, which is what we were just talking about, Night of Destruction, $15 ticket, $5 for children 6 to 12. Kids 5 and under are free. And there you are allowed to bring in food, drinks, and that kind of deal. So that's Night of Destruction. And then on Sunday, if you're looking for something to do, the mini wedges at Kalamazoo, they'll be in the infield. They have the Intimidator, which is their season kickoff, and they'll have all 4 classes there, which I believe also includes the new Sport Champ cart. So it sounds like the 2 mini wedge divisions, senior, junior, and then the Sport Champs will be there. So a lot to do this weekend. Obviously, tomorrow, Top Row will be covering the Intimidator 100, and on Saturday, Top Row will be at the New Paris Speedway covering that. We'll have race highlights and all that, and then sometime starting next Tuesday is when stuff will start showing up on YouTube, just because with me having a Sunday program, I'm obviously not going to be able to edit on Sunday. So that gives me Monday, and then obviously we have our show. So that'll cut a little bit into the editing time too. Other than that, Buju, anything else that you have good for the group tonight?
I think we're all set. But yeah, watch some racing. We got this weekend coming up. Couple big shows, whether you're going north or going south to New Paris. See you at the races.
Yep, see you at the races. Share this out. Help us. Thank you again to ELH Detailing, our presenting sponsor. Until next time, turn left, go fast, because I know you were early, but I'm going to make you do it again.
See you at the races.
See you at the races. Hope to see a lot of you tomorrow. Oh.
All the jazz hands tore off.
I know. Wrong button. All of a sudden,